Hey everyone, welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting, and tonight we are doing another indie show, and we are wrapping up Saga. We're talking about volume 7, 8, and 9, so we got a lot of ground to cover, and as usual, I have my usual Saga crew with me. First up, we got DS Comics. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? Good to be here. Excited to finish up the first half of what will soon be finished someday. So yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, sometime in the next decade they'll get around to finishing it, so let's hope. We also have Backseat Driver. What's going on, man?
What's up, guys? It's been a while.
Well, it has been a little while. It took us a little while. Our schedules were not meshing very good.
Yeah.
We're here now and gonna wrap this up, so that'll be a good time.
And I know I'm the prime culprit there.
Well, not just it's been all of us. So, and the last member of our usual Saga panel, Mr. Kavi himself, Comic Books NYC. What's going on, man?
What's up, everybody? This should be interesting. I reread issues 37 to 53 like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And today I reread just issue 54. So we'll see how much I retain. I have read it before, so at least I've got that going. But,
well, I read it before we were going to do it the last time, and then I was going to re-dig into it this week, and I did not. I kind of flipped through it today a little bit.
Yeah, just a quick flip.
And then I promised a mystery guest tonight, and we got somebody who didn't really know anything about this series, hasn't really been that interested in it, but decided, he was like, hey, I'm kind of curious, can I hop in for the last one? And that is Mr. Comic Man Andy. What's going on?
I'm really thinking of giving this series a shot. You guys keep saying great things about it. And look at Backseat Driver over there with the Mega Flex. I mean,
he's got the 9.8. Get the 9.8 rocking right there.
Have you guys read this? Is it good?
I've heard a few people like it, but it's
debatable. Graphic and terrific for my taste, honestly.
All right, we got a couple people in the chat. Well, Backseat's in the chat, but we got Sam I Am. What's going on, Sam? Patrick, what's happening? Big Brian K. Vaughan fan. So this is the place for you tonight because we are going to be talking all things Saga. But if you have not read this will be a full spoiler show. We don't hold anything back on these. So we're going to spoil this for Andy, who's never read this before. So we're just getting right to the end, fully spoiled. So it looks like he might have picked up a couple of Saga books just for the show. That's crazy. You got those today.
A couple. They all flooded right in,
Yeah, just in time. So I'm going to start with DS tonight because DS and I were the only ones who had never read this before this. So what were your thoughts about how they wrapped up this half, DS? What did you think of these 3 volumes, just in general?
I thought it was really quality. The whole thing has been consistent all the way through of good quality and surprises and a lot of good sci-fi and action. I mean, obviously it's a sci-fi story, but a lot of good sci-fi elements. Honestly, of all of the Saga that we've read, all of them, the whole thing, my least favorite part is the very end of this, like the last book, basically. It kind of petered out a little for me, but it sets up a lot of stuff that's going to come. So, I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. I like some of the developments, like some of the characters that used to be like complete enemies have become friends on certain levels. And they have a lot. There's always backstory continuing to be intertwined as you go along. You get these flashbacks. I like that. It's consistent all the way throughout. It kind of lightened up a little towards the end for me, and it kind of lost me a little at the end. Honestly, I was enthralled for the whole series, and then at the end, it kind of lost me. Maybe I just had read too much, and my eyes were hurting or something. But pretty good. I thought the art for me was some of the best art was in this group. This last 3 volumes that we read. Honestly.
Yeah. I would. Well, the art for me has been consistently really, really good, and I would say the one thing I will say about this is you definitely get like all the characters get really good character development through the course of the thing. Like there are no stagnant kind of characters that are at least are important in any way. Betsy, what are your thoughts about these last 3 volumes of Saga, just in general?
I don't think it was quite the right place to take a hiatus, but that's also just partly because I wanted to keep reading. But I was a big fan of A Song of Ice and Fire. Am a big fan of A Song of Ice and Fire. Not so much the TV show, but I was getting a lot of those vibes as we got closer to the end of this half of the story. And I don't know, it felt like too many people were being taken away for it to be the middle of this story without some weird crap happening for the next half.
Yeah.
Right. And I guess we could spend a little bit of time during this show speculating, I guess.
Oh, I think we can. We can do that at some point.
I mean, for me, like there's a saying out there, like obviously this is not the first time I've read it. This is probably the 3rd time I've read it in full. Whereas certain issues I've probably read more than 3 times, just depending upon, why that issue is a key or whatever.
Right.
But for me, like I think I've heard this saying out there that like Saga can break your heart, like if you get attached to the characters, like just like to Backseat's point, like with Game of Thrones and stuff. And that's what these 18 or how many issues is it? 17, 18 issues of the story for me. It like, there's a lot of like heartbreaking stuff for the characters for them to go through, like, a miscarriage and then a ghost of a child that, never was, that Hazel gets attached to, and then that's gone. And then she gets her first taste of like young love, like childhood love. And then that character gets taken away from her. And then, I'm just, this is the part of the story where Prince Robot IV makes like a face turn, from he's a big heel and then he's a big face by issue 53. And then that just breaks my heart, because at that point I had actually liked that character by that point. And then of course, how can we not mention the Marco thing? I mean, that's the thing that's been speculated on now for like 2 years. So like my thoughts about this quote unquote ending, which is just a halfway point, was probably way different 2 years ago than it is today. Because 2 years ago, I thought maybe we'd be getting issue 55, like 6 months from that point or whatever. That like, I didn't know like to the extent of what the hiatus was going to be, like multiple years. And now, even though I think Brian K. Vaughan publicly has said like they are working on it, like don't freak out. It is coming, like, be on the lookout for news or whatever. But it has been.
Well, they've only had a year of pandemic to work on it in their houses.
Pandemic, exactly. So it's like, this portion of the story breaks my heart. But I'm also, I guess, optimistic that the story will pick up and that it will all make sense at some point. But this is kind of like a shocking middle period here that. If you took it as the ending to the story, it'd be like, what?
Like the story has never been super bright and chipper, like in any way, shape, or form. Like, but it gets dark. Like, it gets freaking dark during this. Andy is our mega Saga fan.
Our resident subject matter expert.
Yeah.
Yes. What are your thoughts about like the way these 3 volumes kind of wrap up the first half?
Oh, buckle the hell up, because this is an emotional roller coaster for me. And this was rereading this for like the 6th time it's just as impactful for me as it was the first read through, especially the brother scene.
Yeah.
And the projection that Alana is able to do because of that situation. And let's not forget probably one of the biggest fan favorite characters out there that doesn't get talked about enough that everybody loves is Isabel and her.
Yeah.
That was the one that was the gut punch for me more than any of the others. Like, because that was so like there was no build up. It just was like, oh, bye.
Not nonchalant.
Right.
That's exactly delivered exactly the way BKV wanted, was how easy it is for life to be lost, or just how not the vernacular escapes me, but how in one moment you're there, the next moment gone. And how impactful of a character it is to just simply not be there.
Yeah.
And for something as mundane as just to be the wrong place at the wrong time, trying to do a friend a favor.
Yeah, that's a character I expected to be in Saga going forward when they do the next 54 issues, because for one thing, the kid doesn't really have any friends. You know, there's the parents and the adults, the grandparents or whatever. There are all these adventures. And then she's the babysitter, but she's like the friend. It's the kid's like only the real friend. And really added a lot of cool comic relief and sort of dark humor to a lot of the parts in this 54 issues. And yeah, I was surprised that they got rid of her. I just like instantly, like Andy said, all of a sudden 1 minute she's there and like gone.
And got rid of her not at the, it wasn't like one of the main character villains that like took her out. It was just this rando that lasted for like 3 issues, if that. I don't even know if that was.
And it wasn't like a massive Avengers Endgame battle where somebody dies. It was just like in the middle of the story, like they're going, checking this place out, and all of a sudden.
I mean, I hear what you guys are saying, but I feel like that was kind of an appropriate death for that character, just because it was. Like, I don't feel like her character deserves. I mean, this is just my opinion, but I just don't feel like her character deserves an Avengers Endgame moment.
She's not so unimportant. She doesn't deserve an Avengers Endgame end, but she's not big enough to even get the end. I feel like she can just hang out there in the story.
Yeah, I think I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. Like the surprising part of it was like, she added like this kind of sense of stability in the crew. Like I'm gonna be your guiding angel, and also be Hazel's like essentially her best friend, right?
Yeah.
I do think there are pathways for her to develop other friendships and deep relationships with the way that they have set up the characters going into these final, I think, 3 or 4 issues, where essentially everybody reunites. You know what I mean? Like, you do have kind of a little bit of a moment of like, oh my God, everybody's back together again.
Yeah, that was like,
and Squire is my new brother, and stuff like that. And then it's just gets ripped apart, blown up. And, it's gut wrenching to some degree. But I like I said, I'm hungry for where, the very next panel.
Yeah.
Literally the very next panel. Like it's like one of the most anticipated next panels in independent comic history. Like
you realize that
crazy.
Like 55 is going to be like, not even deal with that, right?
Yeah. Could you imagine?
I'm just going to skip over that, and they'll come back to it around like 60.
We're going to jump back to the planet. We're not going to see what happens on the ship. Like, he's gone. They don't know what happened. Like, yeah.
With Isabel gone, I feel like, look, he wrote that character in to fill, not because of that character, but to fill a specific gap, which is sort of like, this is an overarching, very adult, mature, adult adventure for the characters. Yeah. And this kid is sort of tagging along. And this kid has a world that's growing more and more important as the series goes on. And you have the kid's old enough now where they're having backstories on the kid, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I feel like this is allowing sort of a vacuum of space to enter another character to sort of take over.
Yeah, exactly.
That area. And I really felt like when the ghost brother sort of appeared, that might still be in some way, but I felt like that was like, this makes sense. She's moved off to make room for now the brother who's going to
there was a transition there. Yeah.
And they got rid of that. And I was like, okay, that's not it. That's sad too. Really sad. That was
probably the saddest part of the book.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean that was just like that whole like, and we'll dig into the individual volumes, but that whole volume 8 was just like,
Yeah.
I'm not like the brother thing, and that was just a very dark, like the whole thing is dark, obviously, but it was just like there wasn't hardly a upbeat note in that whole volume.
Right.
I feel like, but so let's start with 7. And then we'll work our way, like, because obviously we started with the Isabel thing.
You guys are gonna have to remind me what happened in 7 because that's the one that I read 2 months ago, reread like 2 months ago.
So
but
7 is
and I've lost track of which books are which because I went out and bought this.
The compendium thing, all 54. Yeah.
So
I'm pretty sure that 7 is the one where Doth dies.
Well, 7 is the one where they're on the little moon,
right? Okay,
planet thing the whole time, and there's like the war going on there, like near them, but they're just kind of hiding out with these refugees, waiting for the tree to refill, and
they become sort of part of the family too because they're there for like 6 months or something.
Yeah,
they just hang out like for a long time, and they're just like, "Why aren't we leaving?" But is
that when Prince Robot IV and Petrichor start developing a romantic relationship? Was that 8?
That's 8.
That's 8.
Okay.
But really, what we get there is, like, I'll be honest, to a certain degree, I felt like 7 was filler. Like, if that and maybe that's not the right term, but like, other than Isabel like vanishing, and I guess Hazel making a friend that she then loses, so she gets another turn with death. Like the kid hasn't been exposed to that enough, you know.
Oh yeah, okay. So that was that whole friendship, and then kind of like a romantic. Well, it wasn't really. It was like innocent. It was like innocently romantic.
Like a kid romantic thing.
Yeah, it wasn't like.
I mean, the only other thing we really get there is we get a little bit of the will stuff. We get the larger galactic intrigue of the fact that the horns and the wings are actually willing to work together under the right circumstances.
Yeah.
Even though like they're the reason for this war that all these other planets are a part of, and yet they're like also willing to like, we'll do this together just because it benefits us, you know, which just makes the whole war even worse. Like the fact that this is going on, like even crappier. But didn't some weird shit happen with Prince Robot IV in this volume? Is this one when he like started doing drugs? That's the next volume.
That's the next one? Okay.
Yeah, that's 8.
Man, I just really like don't remember that one.
There's nothing like other than the Isabel moment, and I feel like this is a very like the reason I feel like it's filler almost is because I feel like it's forgettable. Like Andy's wanting to say something, so go ahead, Andy.
It can come off like that. On deeper read-throughs for me, this 7 really serves as a major character development trade. The issues in Petrarch. Which
issue number does 7 end with? Like, what's the last issue?
7 is
41 or 42?
It ends with her falling.
42.
Yeah, 42.
So 7 really you get Petrarch who steps up quite a bit with some character development there. You learn a number of other things. You get to see a little more Prince Robot. It's one of those things where it can kind of come off as filler, but I mean, look at the.
Well, if it ends with 42, is like that's the miscarriage, right? At the end of 42.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not filler. I mean, that's huge.
And you get character development with the Will. Will like lost his way and is no longer a freelancer as part of the union, and basically he gets fat and starts whoring it up and drinking everywhere he goes, doing lots of drugs.
The Will's just a mess.
He just reinvents himself like every other volume. Like he's a different, like he's got a different look, a different character.
Yeah. Also notice the heel turn Marco makes in this from being a very conscientious objector and very non-violent, anti-violence individual to a person of action in defense of the family. That's a bit of a heel turn, Marco.
I will say, like, that's the thing that, like, has annoyed me through a little bit about Marco throughout this whole thing. Is, like, he's a conscientious objector or whatever, like, because he's done things that he does not proud of. Then the family gets in trouble, and he does violence. And then he just, like, without hesitation, he'll kill to protect his family, which is fine. But then he, like, spends the whole time beating himself up, and when, like, when she ends up having the miscarriage, he's like, it's my fault because I did violence. And it's like, dude, no, what? What is wrong with you? That's just, like, that just annoyed the crap out of me that he, like, made those kind of statements. Like,
yeah, you know, that's what I brought this up a few times, and not to be Buzzkill DS again, but the last few shows, the way that he is written in here, it's very emasculating at times, and it's like if he wants to be a pacifist, fine, but he keeps going back, and when it comes down to it, he'll do the violence, which is perfectly necessary and justified. And then he's like, "Oh, woe is me! I'm so guilty about it," and he's all shamed by it. Like, pick one or the other, and just be like, you know,
pick a lane.
Be committed to it, have your convictions for what you're doing, and stop being so like wishy-washy about things. Like, these are hard times. And he's beating himself up about everything at every turn, and it's just, I don't know. It bothers me. Yeah, I don't like it either. I wish you could just be like more.
It's an individual. It's an individual incredibly torn. And look at the steadfastness of patriarch, or however you pronounce that individual's name.
Petrichor?
Yeah, very steadfast, very firm in the individual's beliefs, and yet Marco is constantly torn back and forth to the point of annoyance.
Yeah, I think that's just part of his character, and I think that's like an intentional.
I'm not saying that like decision. It's poorly written. Yeah. I'm just saying it's annoying.
Yeah,
I find myself. I like whenever you read a story or watch a movie or you're in a piece of fiction, you inevitably find yourself relating to somebody, and it's usually somebody of a similar age or somebody of a similar background, or where you latch on to somebody for some reason that you can relate to. And for Marco, I really try to relate to him, and then I get annoyed with certain things throughout this. Yeah, his character is realistic and it's well written, but I try to relate to him. You know, I feel like, I don't know why. I guess because he's a man of similar age or something to me, and been through some hard.
Well, I mean, not to burst your bubble about the age thing, but he's supposed to be 19 or so, like according to Brian K. Vaughan.
Well, I mean, I just thought this he should be like
close.
20,
yeah. Well, at the beginning of the story, I don't know how many years have passed or whatever, but yeah.
So if he's only 19, how is he like? He
and Alana are supposed to be like 19, 20-year-olds. Like I read all I read all the like deluxe bonus material stuff in these deluxe hardcovers, and at the end of this one, he included like every single thing that he had, like, you know, emails and things that he wrote down, like treatments, like, you know, like what he sent to Fiona before she even knew what this was, you know, kind of thing. And they were supposed to be like 19, 20-year-olds at the beginning of the story.
Yeah, they strike me as 30-year-olds when I feel like I'm reading about 30-year-olds. You know what I mean? Yeah. I agree with you, Kavi, but I feel like they're 30-year-olds. I don't know.
I don't know. Based on how Marco acts, I would peg him more like a 19-year-old, just completely unsure of, like, always just back and forth, super emotional.
Yeah, because I think in this universe, like, they had very young soldiers and stuff, and like it was just kind of like that is the group that, like, that is the range of age that we're, you know, this they're pulling from, you know, for the war or whatever.
Well, yeah, and it's possible that like he could be 19 and still have seen a whole bunch of crap, because even if he was like us and he
and intentionally in the notes that I read, Brian K. Vaughan says that that's his age, but he acts much older than his age. He even wrote that, like, that was literally a character note for Marco. It was that a young guy that acts much older than his age. That's
I mean, he's young, but I mean, he's been through more than most 40-year-olds.
Exactly.
Yeah, and yeah, he's young, but I feel like he's handled a lot. He's a grown man. He's got a family, and you know, he was in the military. He's faced a lot of adversity. I mean, he's had almost a daily fight for their lives and survival. He's a little a little wishy-washy with him, and he's like sobbing about stuff a little too much, and it's just like, man, suck it up. You just got to do. I mean, he would. I don't know. I feel like, yeah, he wants to be a pacifist, but he had to do something to save his family, and it was a violent act. Man, you didn't want to do it, but you suck it up and you don't cry about it. It bothers me a little bit. I don't know.
And that's the thing for me is like, it's not that like, at times he comes off as more mature than his age, like, because he's been through so much, and then like he just turns and he's like whiny about something. It's like, dude, like everything that you've been through to have to protect your family, why are you still having the same debate? Like, you've made this choice multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what?
Well, and it's also very clear that there is no other choice unless he just wants to let his family die.
Yeah, and it's like
completely clear.
Yeah, and that's why it annoys me, because it's like, it's not like he really had a choice. It was watch my family die or do something, and he did something, and then he whines about that he did something, and it's like
that.
Yeah,
that speaks volumes, because the experiences that he's endured or his family's endured can age an individual. It can teach experience. Yeah. The one thing that he lacks, in my opinion, due to his age, is emotional intelligence. If his age were a fair bit higher, his ability to be emotionally intelligent would be a lot higher. So his responses would be a lot different. So his responses to the things happening around him, or what his choices are, lead me to believe him to be a much younger individual.
Yeah, I think Alana, though, she seems a lot stronger in tougher situations, not stronger, but more convicted when she makes a decision. She doesn't worry that she's the fault of stuff. She's just she makes decisions. She's got conviction.
Well, she is a stronger, more stubborn kind of forceful character in general. Like that's the way.
Yeah, I keep finding myself wishing Marco was a little more closer to that. And it's not a knock on the writing. Obviously, they're all realistic characters. I'm pulling for Marco to be a little stronger the way Alana is, especially in certain parts. He was mentioned.
The only real life equivalent I could frame it as, even though I have no experience in it personally, is like PTSD or something. Like he has that going throughout the whole series. Like anything that you can sort of quantify him as being quote unquote an adult or having adult experience all happens while he's like on the run. You know what I mean? Yeah. From, everything that's going on in this plot. So it's, I don't know how, somebody his age would act, you know what I mean? Like it's hard to put yourself in those shoes. For me, like, I don't identify with him at all, you know, like, which is fine. Like I identify, I think, more with characters, like Gwendolyn or, I guess maybe to some degree Goose, but yeah, like, like he's a conflicted sort of introspective lead character.
I guess my disappointment is that, like, we see that, like, almost right off the bat in volume 1, and we see it a couple of times throughout the course of the story where he has these, after he does something, like he has these regrets and this guilt, and he lets it like eat him up. And he's made having gone through all of this and had to make all these decisions and been with his family, like here we're this far into the story and he's still like doing the same things. He's falling for the same traps of his own personality, that he's not making progress himself. And it was just frustrating for me, like, that he did that again, and it's like, learn from your experiences.
Where specifically are we talking about? Like, that's the part I'm not computing like what you guys are talking about.
I read this, I'm not going to remember, but I'm pretty sure it's in volume 8 where he makes, like, when she's going through all of this, like, he's blaming himself that they lost the baby because he committed violence against that guy, like, that it's his fault. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember where he said that.
She encouraged him to pick up the weapon, to take it with him, and then he's like, "No, I'm not taking that. Nothing good ever comes when I have a weapon," or whatever. And then who was it that showed up and he does pick up the weapon and uses it, and then he feels terrible about it.
I think it was a landfall soldier shows up at some point.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Or multiple of them, and he kills them all with a spell. And then there's another one, I think a different freelancer at some point showed up that he kills.
Well, that's the one I'm talking about in Volume 7. And then there's I forget what the other. There's the one at the very beginning, and then there's somewhere in the middle, and I don't remember where he violence again, and he just like I don't know.
Is it when they go to that planet or moon for Alana to get the abortion? Does he kill somebody there?
I don't remember that.
Well, the part I remember the most about that is how, like, Alana's like heart stopped or something like that, and then Hazel uses the magic, right. To bring her back, and he kind of like hesitates, and I was like, well, why are you why are you hesitating? Like, she's about to die. That was the part that I remembered where he kind of was like wishy-washy a little bit, and then like Hazel
do it instead of him.
Hazel kind of stepped. Was that the first time she used magic, or was that
but it was like he was just having her use something. She hadn't used that spell before.
That spell, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's basically like, and I don't know, because he's basically, the reason he's having her do it is he's kind of like whining about the fact that like, well, I might kill her with my spell, or my lightning's too strong, or like,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And again, comes back to his lack of, he makes decisions, and then he like just like beats himself up for like ever about his decision. It's like sometimes you made the decision move. So
yeah. I guess, but
more time on
Spider-Man does the same thing. Peter Parker and Spider-Man does
the same thing in
Marvel. Bruce Wayne and Batman does the same thing in DC. Yeah. I mean, those are costumed, characters with secret identities, and they're not known to the world, so it's a totally different kind of mentality. But I don't know. I feel like I see characters like that all the time, and it's pretty normal.
No, and we've spent more time talking about it than I'm annoyed by it. Like, it's an annoying factor of Marco, but it's not like a big deal. We've ended up spending.
But he's not my favorite character. Like, right. I don't really. I mean, I like the character. Don't get me wrong, but I actually prefer like. And I think we talked about this on the first show when you guys hated Alana, and I was like, well, I like Alana, And I think I said during that first episode, well, maybe wait until you get to issue 54 and then figure out which one you like better, Alana or Marco. And for me, it's Alana. But hey, whatever, like everyone's got their own impression of these characters.
I guess other thing I want to mention about Volume 7 before we move on is like basically they do escape from this moon before it gets sucked into this void thing.
Time suck.
The time suck. And obviously we get, as they're escaping, Alana falls and we get the miscarriage, which is obviously a huge movie. But they end it with a flashback to the people they've been hanging out with that end up getting basically sucked into, and they have these, like pages of black of like what happened to them. And how did that hit everyone else? Because I'm curious, like,
you mean like the 4 pages of black? I interpreted the 4 pages of black as like a moment of silence for the lost baby and all these lost characters, not necessarily a direct translation of how those side characters fell into a void. But I guess now that you're saying it, I'm not sure, but
I sort of interpreted it the same way as Javi. It's not just that was like at that point of the black pages was like one more really tragic ending, and it's just like a moment to reflect on all the tragedy that has happened, and a moment to sort of catch your breath, reflect on that, and be ready to move on. And it was an interesting look. That's a risky artistic chance to take. To spend 4 pages of nothing in a book that somebody's buying, and the risk that will work, because people, regardless how good a story is, when you pay for it, ultimately that's what this is, a commercial product.
Was that issue the same number of pages as other issues, or were those extra pages?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, I don't know, but I
don't
mean,
know.
when you're reading something you bought, you're expecting to get what you pay for, and it's a risk to put in 4 essentially blank pages in at the end. But I think it was well deserved. I think it worked.
I agree. Yeah,
I was cool with it. It really did. When I saw those, I sort of did sit back, and I sort of like took my breath for a second and like prepared myself to move on. I thought it was an interesting artistic choice, and I think it worked. Although it's risky, stuff like that doesn't always work. Like what was that Marvel cover recently where it's the front was like had something on it like Marvel Wednesdays or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Released on Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't always work when you make those are risky choices. And this one it worked, and that one it didn't. But
that was stupid. Like, I mean, that it's totally off topic to this, but yeah, I was like, when I saw that, I was like, really?
Well, the Eternals one Kirby dot cover variant, I think, is another risky, similar type choice, of giving you nothing and trying to tell you it's something, and that's doesn't always come off well. But I was cool with it. I took it the way Kavi did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just felt like a pause, like an emotional pause or beat for the story to continue from there.
Yeah.
It really serves two purposes here, right? So artistically, Fiona has taken us into the black hole with those leftover characters, but it also stands for us to pause and think and reflect.
Right.
The sacrifices and the losses that have been made thus far.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I thought too.
Okay, I was curious what everybody thought about it because I mean that's pretty like it. I was just curious where everybody stood on that.
Why don't we talk about what we've all been dying to talk about, and that is Goose and Squire and their bromance buddy relationship. That's some good shit right there, man.
When does that come? Is that in volume 7? Where is it?
I think it's in volume 8.
That's volume 8. Yeah, I think volume 8 is where all of the stuff is going on that little escape planet that they found.
Yeah,
where they're about to starve on that planet where they got left, and okay, that is right at the end of volume 8. So let's talk about Goose.
I mean, I wasn't being serious. Like, we need to spend 10 minutes on Goose and Squire. I just love that character. I like their, their banter and stuff and their back and forth. I mean, pretty much I like Goose's banter and back and forth with any other character, but I found them to be particularly funny.
They're on the same level.
Yeah,
for the most part.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a little bit of a comedic relief, but also just a little bit of lightheartedness to throw in just to build you up so they can just knock you down right after.
Yeah.
Well, look at page 1. Page 1 says, "Welcome to Abortion Town." Christ almighty.
Oh, yeah, volume 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my favorite lines is, I don't even know what issue this is, and I don't know. Let me see if I can. Issue 48. Let's see what page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like the 5th or 6th page of issue 48, where it's just Squire and Goose, and he's like, and Squire's like, and I'm not speaking of the last of the birds we slayed. Have you ever killed a walking, talking someone like us? And then Goose is like, don't have to chit chat to hunt. Silence is pretty good too. I was like, what? I died. I was like, one of my favorite lines in the book.
Yeah, Goose doesn't want to. Yeah.
He's like, I don't want to talk about killing in front of this kid right here.
There was one other moment that I thought was really pulled on the heartstrings, and it wasn't as impactful or powerful as the other ones. But when the Will finally meets back up with Lion Cat, and basically asks Lion Cat, come back and be with me. I miss you, basically. And Lion Cat doesn't want any part of it. And Will walks away. That was touching because, I recently lost a pet, recently a year ago. It still bothers me. And that was tough because I know the Will really wanted Lion Cat by his side. But then he still had his new friend who got blasted right away and lost that one. I almost would laugh if it wasn't so effing sad. You know?
Yeah. So yeah, we do get the introduction. That was in volume 7. We get the introduction of this new villain, Ianthe. And her introduction is she shoots the dog. Like,
sweet boy.
Okay, you're the worst.
Sweet boy. All right.
She shoots Sweet Boy, and like you're the worst. You're the worst creature in the universe. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm glad we were bringing her up because I do find myself, I don't know, like being a little bit disappointed in that character, I guess, and that character being responsible for so much of the damage and like the connecting. I mean, but I think there's more to come for that. You know what I mean? And like, it might be a little bit too early to make judgments on that. And like, there might be a bigger reason for that. I don't know. But for me, just within the scope of these issues here that are available, it was a weak character for me. It wasn't a weak concept. For me, it was like a little bit of a weak character.
I feel like that is the first time that we've gotten in this story a somewhat one-dimensional cackling villain.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, that's the most one-dimensional character almost in the story that has any real impact on the story.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
And I would agree that character was like, for me, just like, okay, you're horrible. Is there anything else here? And there wasn't.
Right. Not yet, anyway.
Yeah.
Hurry the hell up, BKV.
But wait, and let's clarify. Is that character officially dead, or is that character not officially dead? You know, and we can have that same debate about 2 other characters, I guess.
One of those, I'm not sure you can really have that debate about.
At this point, you can't remove that weight going forward in the story. You can't.
Right? Yeah. No, all the things that character was responsible for setting off.
Yeah,
has happened.
Well, how would it look if issue 55 was just like a fever nightmare of Alana's or something like that? And then all of a sudden we're right back. How much?
I don't see that happening. But
no,
I hope not. I hope not, because for me that would take so much away from the story. The 50 some odd issues we've been sitting on for years now.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that comment is more related to the cliffhanger about Marco versus
it's about any of them coming back,
or any of or Prince Robot or whatever. Yeah.
If the whole last half of that trade ended up being some sort of a fever dream and they undid it, it would completely unwind the story for me.
I don't think. I mean, Brian K. Vaughan has never really done anything that ridiculous in any of the books that I've read from him before that took away from the story that had already been told. So I don't see that happening, but we could speculate, I guess.
I don't think it would happen, but we'll say Brian K. Vaughan seems pretty enamored with dream sequences, though. I will say that.
Yeah.
There's a few of them in this, the whole time we've been reading this. There's a lot of them. And some of them, the early ones I thought were better than some of the later ones. The early ones are really shocking and trippy stuff.
Yeah, especially the drug ones. Yeah.
Yeah, like you just start reading, you're like, what the hell is going on? This is crazy. Yeah. And then it turns out he's really good at doing that. He does it a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no way you could do that with something that you've had as a cliffhanger for multiple years. Like, oh, we're going on hiatus, and then you're going to come back and undo. Like, no, I don't see that happening.
Well, the reason I ask about Ianthe specifically is that she was on the ground on the sand with Upshur, and she was like, kill me, but like, and then the frame goes like back, and they don't they don't reveal like the ultimate fate of the character is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
sort of. But
true.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, so it would be easier to write her back in, what I mean, that versus a Marco or a Prince Robot.
That'd be a really good arc, and I could see BKV doing that.
I could see him doing that specifically.
Yeah. Well, there's no right Prince Robot
because that was intentionally left up to, interpretation or speculation.
The others weren't.
Yeah.
You know, you could try to like explain your way around it, I guess, but it would be very hard to do it. You know, like I don't see the path to explaining back those guys. You know, as much as
I think
part of me wants
that
it,
Hazel and Squire are going to go on a rampage or something.
yeah, like
I feel like Squire was a little bit
Hazel.
obsessed with death.
Yeah, teenage Hazel and Squire versus the world.
So here's the thing that because we're kind of going down this road a little bit.
Yeah.
My expectation is when this comes back, is Hazel's a teenager.
That's my expectation too.
Yeah, there's no immediate follow up to this chapter.
That's my expectation.
It's just like I don't think this is a cliffhanger. Right. I think he's gone.
Well, a lot of people thought it was a cliffhanger because their expectations was that it would be a short hiatus, and then you'd get another issue, right? Now I'm more with JP on this, that it wasn't a cliffhanger because I don't know. It just feels like I mean,
Hazel tells you it's not a cliffhanger,
right? Because not everyone survives. Not everyone does. Not everyone does. Yeah, but I mean, I guess, yeah, it would be hard to unexplain that.
No, I think he's gone.
Yeah,
and I will say it does come back to like his going back and forth on violence versus thing, right. And when he chooses not to finish the will, and then he ends up dead.
Yeah. His choices have consequences, and that he paid the ultimate price.
Yeah.
I think that the second half, because this whole first half has been Hazel talking about her past and how she became who she is. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking that the second half might be her talking about her present. So it could be even more than a teenager. It could be like 15 years in the future or something.
Yeah,
that would be cool. Yeah, I mean, that would be. Then it would.
Like,
the story really could go anywhere.
Yeah, this whole story is her recounting this whole tale, basically. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
That's true. I hadn't really thought about that until just now. You get lost in the story and you forget that she's basically telling you the story.
She's the narrator. Yeah.
But how old when this first started? When she's narrating it, how old does that narrator seem? It seems at least to be young adult.
Seems young adult to me. Yeah, young adult. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, though, she says things that implies that like she's more than young adult, because she talks about growing old, and there's more than one time that she references it in that way during the series.
Okay, well,
she talks about being older than Marco is right now when he.
So this is in the summary that written by Brian K. Vaughan that he sent to Fiona Staples in 2011, a year before Saga issue, more than a year before Saga issue 1 came out. So his description of Hazel was, and this little brat is the star of our show. She's named after her eye color, a combination of Alana's green eyes and Marco's brown eyes, so Hazel. At the opening of our series, she should look like a normal dark-haired infant girl, but she has 2 little bumps on her forehead where her horns are starting to appear. And then there's 3 sentences of like CIA blackout, like notes that will spoil stuff about the future. That are literally blacked out.
Yeah.
That went to Fiona Staples, but I guess would be spoiling stuff to let us see it. And then he says, beyond that, she's an ordinary humanoid baby, one who will primarily just eat and shit and cause problems for our heroes in their first year as parents. But a grown-up version of Hazel will be the narrator of our story. And 3 more sentences of blocked out secret stuff. So
well, and think about how much time jumped between I don't remember which volumes it was, but Hazel, like, it refers to the first year. She is born in the first issue. And at this point she's like 8 years old or something like that.
I mean, in my head she's like 11 or something. Or 10
yeah, so we've already
I don't know for sure.
Regardless of her whatever it is, it's been a significant time jump already.
Yeah.
Well, that time
like my nephew is 7. I would say Hazel is 9-ish. Like that would be like,
that was my 10-ish.
Yeah.
8-ish. Look at the way they portray Sophie in this portion of the story, and Sophie just hit 10. So at 10, she is old enough to apply to be a part of the union for the freelancers, and that's what she's trying to do. Yeah. And Hazel appears just a few years younger than that, I think.
Yeah.
Well, actually, if you think about that, like Sophie is, because Sophie was like 5 or 6 at the beginning when Hazel was born. So Sophie should actually be a little bit older than that.
Well, so I remember when they first get onto the tree rocket. At the end of that volume, Hazel mentions how long they end up on that tree rocket. So we can, like, it's in there somewhere how long. I think it was like 7 years or something like that.
Yeah.
That they are flying around on that rocket. So it's been about that long since she was a few days, weeks old, I think, is when they first
be a little younger than what we're thinking, but she acts older. Like she's written to me like a little bit older than what my nephew is, like where he's at and how he behaves.
She's probably, hopefully, she has seen a little bit more than your nephew has.
Well, yeah, no,
which would make her act older, is what I mean. Like she would be a little bit different.
Yeah, in my brain, she was like 8 or 9, 10.
I don't know. I see her as like Natalie Portman's character in Leon the Professional. Like she's seen some horrific stuff, and then she ends up being like a badass killer. Like, you know. So maybe that's where it goes. Who knows?
Well, she's definitely had some like people in her life that could train her to be a bad. Yeah. So, well, we're coming up on our hour. Not that we have to stop at an hour, but what other things have we not touched on? You guys want to like?
We kind of just did that whole speculation thing that is the end of the story. I mean, that's pretty much.
One of the things you could bring up a little bit too is the whole world situation in 2020. The reason why the hiatus is extended as long as it is Fiona was unable to get childcare for an incredibly long period of time.
Right.
And BKV and her actually, well, I know BKV states that publicly somewhere on IG or something to that effect, where that was one of the leading factors is she was unable to get any childcare for a very long time. So for her to be able to sit down and creatively work on an arc at a time was unfeasible.
Right.
And when they talked about coming back in 2021, just recently, they were working on it. One of the things they did address is that she was able to garner or she was able to get some assistance with the childcare aspect. She's a new mother, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So they were able to address that situation so that she was able to work on story arcs creatively and start going there. Because if I remember correctly, they're working on an arc at a time, an entire arc.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big chunk to take on.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it strikes me that they are, and a lot of people do this, a lot of the indies, it seems like they do this, is they basically do work almost at an arc at a time, so that, like, when they're telling an arc, because they have the one artist doing all of it.
Meaning essentially 6 issues at a time, right?
Yeah, they're basically doing 6 issues. They have 6 issues ready, and then if they have a break from there, then that's fine, but they want to get their 6 issues out.
Yeah.
And
so she's having to do what, like 100 and
that's
something pages at a time, 6 times what, 24?
164? Oh wait.
Yeah.
I mean, for some, traditional comic artists, that's like half a year's worth of work, but like she's digital. I think she's, she can work quickly and nimbly, like she's proven it, with this 54 issue run. But yeah, it should be. I mean, I hope it comes back soon. We'll see.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I don't know if this is written anywhere, but it just strikes me that, well, for one thing, I'm patient. People who put out good work, if it takes a while to get to the next step or the next thing, that's fine, because I trust that they're doing good work, because whatever they put out is top notch. However long it takes, I'm patient. But Amazon is filming Paper Girls. They're in the process of that now. I've got to think Brian K. Vaughan is involved in that to some degree. So that plus whatever else is in his life.
Not only that, but FX is filming Y: The Last Man at the same time.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, so
right now
he's involved in both.
Hey,
Yeah.
it's the dragon.
Yeah, he's going to be super busy with those.
Yeah, so I wouldn't expect any more progress on Saga until after those 2 shows are done filming, because he's part of that, obviously.
Right.
Yeah. But like I said, I don't even know. This is the first time I've read Saga, so it's been out there for 10 years. I didn't read it, so what's another couple of years for me? Whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think
that people who are into this have been waiting a long time.
if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
BKV's done with the whole first arc. It's just kind of in Fiona's.
That's what I heard. Yeah, I heard that the beginning of the next phase of the story was already done, and that it's sort of in Fiona's court, I guess.
Why did I
But
say barn?
I mean, George R. R. Martin's also been saying that he was almost done with his last book for the
Yeah,
last
like,
10 years at this point.
yeah,
So who knows?
Who knows how reliable what anybody says about that?
Yeah.
'Cause it's
How
gotta be
reliable that
Gotta
information.
go through whatever.
I mean, even what
Brian
Brian K. Vaughan has said has been kind of inconsistent. So, yeah.
So yeah, one more thing, JP. I like to do, because I really like looking at the pictures, and I have a few favorite panels I picked out.
Panel.
So if you want to do that, we can show some of my favorite panels.
Yeah, let's see that.
So I like this panel just because it's a good classic like horror panel. I just thought that was a really just cool panel. It's just badass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good one.
Yeah.
Coming to eat your taints.
Yeah, and that was a very short battle. Obviously, it wasn't even really a battle, but so there's that one, and then I picked out 3. I really dig this train panel.
Oh yeah,
Train is weird looking, but yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's so dope. I mean, that's just such a cool looking train. It's just the dark colors. I don't know. It just really grabbed me. Very cool. Just simple and elegant and cool.
Yeah.
I really like that. And then when Goose and the other one, what was the other name of?
Squire.
Yeah, they were out hunting and.
I know which one you're about to show. That one's dope, dude.
They can only see their insides. When they said that, I was like, does that mean actual insides and you can't see the outsides? And then it's like,
yeah.
Yep.
that is exactly what you mean.
That one felt like a callback to those drug trip scenes almost in a way. Yeah.
Really, really cool scene, and just good use of color. And I like the bluish in the background, and then these colors stand out.
Look at Goose, man. Look at him fly.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the foreground, and then just like
that panel on the right, the top right, like that one.
yeah, the whole picture is cool. But yeah, those are some of my favorite panels from this movie.
If anybody's interested, my Goose original art is up for sale right now on Comic Link.
Nice.
Not bad,
Yeah,
I like it.
Well, amateur Don Dada art,
Hey, looks good.
Yeah.
If any of you saw me on Lamer Frame, it's better than what I did the other night on there.
I doubt that.
When I was younger, I'll scroll down and see if I can find a picture I drew when I was younger. I don't think I could draw this now. I don't know why I was able to draw it then, but when I was in high school and I was really into comics, or even middle school, I think I drew this in 8th grade or something.
Kavi, I think you have a starting bid from Patrick Wall.
Oh, yeah. That's I don't know. We'll have to sidebar Pat Wall. I wasn't. I think I'm a little more. I think I'm more attached to it than I realized. And I saw a bid. I'm like, wow.
Oh wow!
Oh wow!
Now that's pretty good, DS. Yeah, I don't think I could do that. That's pretty cool. I think I've seen you post that before. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, and I drew that. What did I see? That was in middle school, and I also drew a Doctor Doom, and I guess this is supposed to be the Shadow, maybe. I don't know, but there's my Doctor Doom.
Cool.
Very nice.
With my little initials, I signed it because it's so badass.
Yeah.
I guess that's the Shadow. I'm not sure.
Shadow,
Yeah, that looks like the
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so apparently I used to draw little doodles in school of different stuff in comics that I was reading or whatever. And I would work on them, and if I got a good one, I would save it. And I remember finding these at my parents' house a couple of years ago, and I had saved those.
Nice.
So yeah, they're cool.
I've never been able to draw anything worth saving.
So,
well, I probably drew 1,000 things. I saved 2. So.
Yeah.
Why don't we give Andy the last word?
Yeah, we're going to give Andy last word. Well, anybody else had anything else we wanted to like?
I don't have anything else to really say.
Okay, Andy, what is your last word on Saga for the show? Not for, you can never talk about Saga again. This is it. This is all you can ever say.
Really, you're gonna put me in there? We better buckle up for when this does return. I am a patient man, just like DS. I will wait patiently for this to return and be done well and be done correctly. But man, oh man, am I gonna continue to take advantage of prices and buying up things while I can before they come back, because when they come back, books that weren't ghosts are gonna start to become ghosts.
Yeah, and it's not often that a series onto its own as a series has that kind of weight where it'll move the market just for the book to be coming out. Yeah, not a movie spec, not a some other thing that's happening, but enough people care about this book where the collectability of the series from a back issue standpoint is going to increase. So now's your chance.
So I have a question, Andy. I know you're trying to get every version of one. Are you trying to get every version of every issue?
Shh, don't tell everybody. I would like to transition from the work that I'm doing on my Punisher collection for my registry set. I would like to eventually transition that into working on Saga, depending on how the market trends with its return, when and if. Because honestly, right now, I don't know if you guys are paying attention to the market. Punisher books have quadrupled and more.
Everything is quadrupled.
Man, I'm glad I got my 9.4 ASM 129 when
my 8.5 is more than doubled on asking prices. My 8.5, the asking prices for 8.5s right now have more than doubled, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Punisher, there are Punisher dollar bin books that can be found in dollar bins right now that people are asking tremendous amounts of money for online when they're graded, after they're graded, just simply because the census numbers are low, because the market, the people hunting and submitting haven't caught up yet. I digress with Punisher. It's ridiculous right now. I'm really irritated. But in the moment, I think I'm going to take an opportunity to try some of the Saga stuff.
Saga still has value.
But there's still affordability.
Exactly. Like from a price standpoint, like there's still value there right now.
I am currently one graded book away from a completed number one set. And that is this one right behind me. The Comic-Con India just needs to go get clean pressed and graded. That's it. But I'm really gun shy about sending stuff to CGC right now because that's a whole.
They're so far behind.
Yeah. And once I get that one, well, actually I'm 2 behind, but either way, there's another Image First printing. But there's number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, all the way through number 7 or 8. There's some first appearances, and those are some minor keys in there that are really affordable right now that I want to add to the collection.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I think not to go into a whole market report thing.
Yeah.
In my view, the prices are high. Yes, there's not going to be a crash, but I think prices will correct like we saw a few years ago. They'll come down a little bit and then they'll plateau. So I think anybody who's waiting on books and you feel like you're missing out, just wait a little bit. Prices will come down some. They're not going to crash. Prices will come down some, and then there'll be a plateau of a couple of years where there's not going to be a lot of movement on some of these collectible books. So I think you've got time, Andy. You're not, whatever you want to get for Punisher or whatever else. Yeah, I think there's time. People don't need to freak out.
I think I think you're definitely spot on with a thought process of correction. I will debate the topic that I think Saga is one of the books that will trend outside of that correction, because if you look at the last 10 years of the Saga book, there's no major spikes. It's this very slow, steady increase, and I think this could be the next big blue chip modern.
Well, there's some independent classics as a group that's a very collectible market, and it has a lot of fans, and they have traditionally low print runs compared to Marvel and DC books. Mm-hmm. And the upper ones, which are a little further back and a little quirkier, like Bone One or even like Crow One, some of that some of that stuff is really through the roof. That stuff has just gone up tremendously. Now, some of the other, sort of independent, classic, modern stuff, sort of like the cult favorites, are lagging behind a little bit. I think Saga is on the fringe of that category, and I think that has a lot of room to move. Yeah, I think a little more renewed interest in Saga will make a #1 issue really become a valuable book. But it's not as old as something like Bone or Crow or.
Well, it's a tough book to get in high grade if not taken care of properly. #1, it's not a massive print run by any means, in my opinion, for an indie. And just recently, the most recent book I was following for a 9.8 closed at $4.90. So we're approaching breaking that 500 mark for the book.
Yeah,
that's a good milestone for that book.
Yeah,
I think it's a good investment. I wanted to pick one up. I'm not in a huge hurry, but I've been watching it since it was about $250, $275 for a 9.8, and I haven't bought one. And every time I look now, they're over $400. So it is moving. It's not like it hasn't gone up. It's definitely gone up. I wouldn't be surprised. It's going to be a $500 book soon, and that will be the baseline. It's not going to go below that.
The very interesting thing about taking a look at the market for this book was during the hiatus, when the hiatus started until now, the book plateaued without a massive tanking in price. It held.
Yeah.
It held its value in the secondary market and continued to hold its value with a slight upward trend the entire time they've been on hiatus through the extensions now. So it's like, I digress. Well, this could be a whole nother show, JP.
Oh, you're fine. No, we're hanging out. I always you never know where this is going to go. We sometimes talk about value and that kind of stuff of books. It's it's amazing to me, like the indies that like maintain value and the ones that don't. And this is obviously one that has maintained the audience, maintained value. Like several of the things I've read that are great reads, you can go get the #1s for $50-$60, 9.8, and it's like
Descender.
Speaking of $500 books, or soon to be $500 books.
Oh yeah,
I was wondering why you had a shit-eating grin on your face while you were opening that.
I just unboxed this, which I bought from my friend DS right here.
Nice.
A couple days ago. So there's the first Deadpool 9.4.
Yeah, that's pushing up on $500.
Pushing up on $500. I got a much better deal.
Nobody wanted it, but Kavi took it, so I was happy to.
I'm always happy to take advantage of the discount store at DS.
Yeah, now I got to buy another book.
But he threw in a cool freebie here, which
here we go.
Get it out of here. Hold on.
Yeah, it's double full-backed in there.
Double full-backed.
So.
All right. I know what book it is, though, based on the sticky note you put in. Nice, dude. This is a nice copy.
Nice.
Man.
Yeah, cool.
Beautiful.
First Neil Adams Batman cover.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah, first ever time Neil Adams threw Batman on the cover. I think that's awesome. And I know you're a Neil Adams fan. You got some cool stuff. I figured that for a freebie.
Dude, I love how this book looks on this new webcam. All crystal.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Yeah, man.
It looks like a clean copy, man.
It is a nice copy, man. So, dude, thank you, man.
With Deadpool, I know that there has been news some sort, but I have not. So I was telling JP before the show, I've had time to read 6 comics in the last 6 weeks. So I have no idea what the hell is going on in the comic world. Like I haven't even been able to update my pull list. Right. I've spent more time out of my house than I have in this house. Like we got it at the beginning of January. I left at the end of January, and I got back on Friday. So I don't know what anything is going on in the comic world right now.
Just that they're kind of committed to there will be a Deadpool 3 is basically where.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything will change in the world of comics with him.
No,
but the world of the future MCU, there's been some.
Well, there was rumor there. They said they were going to make a Deadpool 3, and then there was rumors that they weren't going to do it, or that they were going to like make it not R or whatever. Like got it. Disney.
Kevin Feige confirmed it's going to be a rated R movie and in the MCU. So
okay.
In my view, I don't think a movie is going to do much for New Mutants 98. I know everybody tells me I'm wrong, but there are certain things that have saturation in the market that there is no lax in the demand to bring more in. Something like Venom. You do another Venom movie, Venom books aren't going to go up because of the movie. It's saturated. Deadpool's like that too. But people who are collecting the top copper keys for their collection, That is way up on the top. I mean, you have ASM 300.
Yeah, it's a stable key for its era. Yeah.
So that has rock solid demand. I don't think a movie's going to cause it to go up more. Deadpool is uber popular already. Yeah. So I wouldn't worry about movie news if you want to collect it. I think that just has solid demand going forward. And
it's a blue chip, late copper, early modern, book.
No, I got my copy like I don't know, a few weeks before the trailer for the second.
Yeah, this is a different show.
I feel like we moved into the after show.
Yeah, this is the after stuff.
The after show conversation. I want to thank everybody that's hung out with us for the Saga portion of the show.
Cut the last minutes out.
Anybody have anything they want to plug before we jump off of here? DS, you got anything coming up?
No.
Okay.
I mean, nobody wants to hear about me buying and selling books, and I don't have anything coming up on my channel.
Always buying and selling books. Look for deals from DS because he's usually got.
Yeah, hit me up on Instagram.
There you go. Backseat, I know you've been super busy, so I'm guessing you probably don't have anything coming up.
No.
Okay. Tommy, do you have anything you want to plug?
Well, I was gonna go live to do this unboxing, but I've already done it, so maybe I'll just cut this part out of this video and upload it to my channel.
There you go.
That's it. I mean, I don't really have anything specific. I did put out that Marilyn Monroe Zoo commission video on my channel yesterday or the day before. I don't remember, but that was like the longest 3.5 minute video I've ever made. Like it took me like a week to make that 3.5 minute video. So I actually edited and did all sorts of work. So proud of that one. But other than that, I don't really have anything specific.
Andy, got anything coming up?
Ooh, man. You can follow me on IG as well. And I am woefully behind on my planned content. I've got 3 videos that I need to record, edit, and upload. So, yeah, if you guys are interested in the hunt lists and the goals and all that other stuff, there's one other person sitting here that hasn't done it yet. So I'm hopefully going to get those done soon.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, I need a hunt list.
Yeah. So I'll be whatever report tomorrow night. Whitewell Comics maybe wrapping up our D&D campaign on tomorrow night. Comigories on John's Comic with Kids is back on Monday.
Oh, now I'm forgetting the thing that I did have to promote.
Are you playing it? Are you going to play?
No, but it's the next Monday. It's the next Monday after that. We have a show with Man Cave, I think.
Yes, we do. That would be the next Gotham City Chronicles.
Yes.
We're doing
I spent a good chunk of today reading Detective Comics 27 through 33 again, which was interesting to revisit the.
Yeah, I have not read
the original
yet, so I haven't dug into that yet. Comigories on Monday on John's channel. Sounds like we finally got Andy to play.
next month in March.
Oh, so you're not on Mondays, but you're scheduled. Okay.
I'm scheduled for next month. Unfortunately, I'm working 7 days a week pretty much, but I am going to I'm going to take some paid vacation for that night.
Yeah. It looks like now, I don't know if I've advertised this or not. There was going to be an indie show this coming week, but it looks like we're going to have to postpone that. So I don't know if you've seen that in the Instagram chat yet, Kavi, but
no, I haven't. But
Duffy continuing asked to postpone. So,
okay, cool. Great.
So you don't have to read this yet.
Right.
You got a little more time. So
I think I only had 2 issues left to read digitally on that anyway. But.
All right. Well, with that, I'm going to get out of here so we can get back to the post-show conversation we were already having. So later, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Adios.